I'll go with some of the one that I usually bring, the vanilla hazelnut. Better,
Yeah.
I don't mind clusters, I'm not
I have back in my room. I should bring it over. I've got some peppermint bark. I should bring that over for tomorrow morning. Probably enough just to keep us through tomorrow. Okay. Good morning, everyone. I'm going to bring back to order this meeting of the Public Education Commission. We are in day 3 of our renewal hearings. It is the last day of renewals. We have 2 today, and the first one up is Amy Biehl High School. So I'm going to ask the folks from Amy Biehl. You have to press it real hard. There you go.
And it's green.
Yes. So I'm going to ask the folks from Amy Biehl if you would introduce yourself, spell your last name, state your title, and then we're good for the rest of the hearing. And then we'll move to the public ed department's comments. Then we'll do, if there's anyone, we save room for tribal consultation. The school will have the 30 minutes. We'll do public comment, and then we'll go.
Super.
Okay?
Great.
So thanks. So if you want to start the intros.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Commissioners, and CSD partners. I'm Stephanie Becker, Becker, and I have with us today Cliff Wintrode, Wintrode. He's our board treasurer. And this is Aldis Philibar, Philipbar. I win the spelling contest. I would like to introduce some folks that aren't going to speak, just so that you know they're here. We have Rachel Berenson, our chair of our board, governing board, and we're grateful that she's come. And we have some folks here for public comment and support. Behind me are the 3 Biehls, Linda Biehl, matriarch, and sisters of Amy, Kim, and Molly. And 2 students, Dahlia Corral and Isabel Taylor, who will be speaking later. Yeah.
Hi, good morning, Chair Gibson and Commissioners. As you know, my name is Lucy Valenzuela, Authorizing Practices Administrator for the Charter Schools Division, and I am here to provide the PED evaluation for Amy Biehl High School. Amy Biehl High School opened its doors in 1999 under Albuquerque Public Schools as their authorizer. In 2010, they changed authorizers and renewed with the Public Education Commission, and this is their 4th renewal. Ooh.
I have to back up. We didn't take roll.
Oh, I got so excited to get going.
Everyone here? Yeah, we're good.
Here we
Okay, sorry.
go. Commissioner Burt,
Here.
Commissioner Taylor, Commissioner Armijo, Commissioner Manus,
Here.
Commissioner Brower,
Here.
Commissioner Kloster-Sillage,
Here.
Commissioner Ingham,
Here.
Chair Gibson,
Here.
Vice Chair Carrillo,
Here.
Secretary Beck here. We have 8 present. That is a quorum.
I apologize. So if you want to start over, Lucy, or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah, all the way back.
Thank you.
So, good morning again, Chair Gibson and Commissioners. My name is Lucy Valenzuela, Authorizing Practices Administrator for the Charter Schools Division, and I'm here to provide the PED evaluation for Amy Biehl High School. Amy Biehl High School opened its doors in 1999 under Albuquerque Public Schools as their authorizer. In 2010, they changed authorizers and renewed with the Public Education Commission. And this is their 4th renewal with the PEC. The school was founded in the spirit of Amy Biehl, a young scholar dedicated to social justice and service. They graduate diverse learners and leaders who demonstrate intellectual, social, and ethical habits to improve their communities. Amy Biehl graduates are civic-minded, college-bound, and career-ready. Dr. Stephanie Becker has been the executive director since 2020. The Charter Schools Division conducted its renewal visit on Tuesday, September 17th. The visit team consisted of myself as team lead, Dr. Bridget Russell, and our contractor, Kristen Lavolpa. The Charter Schools Division recommends that Amy Biehl High School be renewed for a term of 5 years without conditions. The recommendation is based on the record of the school's performance over the course of the contract term, the renewal application, which highlights adult actions and programs in the service of student progress, and verification of those programs and adult actions during our renewal site visit, as well as our annual visits. Amy Biehl has been designated a spotlight school for 2 consecutive years through the New Mexico Vistas. Amy Biehl is located in downtown Albuquerque, and they have a diverse student population. In the 2019-2020 school year, 76% of their students met the demonstration of competency standards for math, reading, and science. Their PSAT and NMSQT data showed leadership and teachers that they needed to provide additional supports for math, and they decided to start interdisciplinary math activities to support math literacy for all grade levels. For example, in ELA 11 classes, students were solving Algebra 2 problems. In the 2023-24 school year, the school removed Tinkercad due to their disappointing math scores and instituted a class called STEM 3D for its incoming 9th graders. The school's education program is broken up into 9 sections: exhibitions, assessment that drives instruction, graduation credit requirements, advisory support, dual credit, civic engagement, personalized teacher professional development, collaborative professional development, and content terms. All students participate in a mixed advisory period where they are peer mentored by each other, and their 9th grade advisory teacher follows them all throughout graduation. Additionally, as you guys know, on Tuesday, November 12th, the PED published spring 2024 assessment results. The school's Vistas designation is Spotlight with a score of 70.4. The school's proficiencies are 71% ELA, which is a 27% increase from the 22-23 school year, 71% science, and 17% in math. But as a friendly reminder, according to the PED New Mexico Vistas webpage, point totals from school year 22-23 and 23-24 cannot be compared due to changes in business rules. For their financial and organizational sections, Amy Biehl High School demonstrated strong financial oversight throughout its contract term. The only does not meet standard on a financial indicator was for indicator 2A due to a significant deficiency finding in the fiscal year 2023 audit. That finding was the school's only audit for the year, and they have received 4 audit findings over the course of the contract term. None of them are repeat findings, non-material weakness, and 1 significant deficiency. Part B ratings. So the school's ratings on Part B of the renewal application are as follows. The school met the standard for their mission-specific goals, educational program, governance responsibilities, equity and identity, and other performance framework indicators. The school demonstrated substantial progress under student outcomes and financial compliance. A single audit finding kept the school from a meet standard for financial compliance, and the school has taken steps to avoid similar findings going forward. In conclusion, Amy Biehl High School is committed to fostering academic excellence while prioritizing the well-being and success of its students. The school's leadership works diligently each year to uphold its mission and educational program, demonstrating adaptability and a proactive approach in addressing challenges. During our annual visits, we have consistently been impressed by the positive impact the school has not only within the classroom, but also in the community. Amy Biehl's alumni, many of whom are pursuing careers as doctors, lawyers, nurses, or attending Ivy League universities, return to their alma mater as a testament to the lasting influence of their education. This ongoing connection highlights the enduring strength of the school's commitment to nurturing future leaders.
Thanks. I'm assuming there's no one on for tribal consultation.
I do not see anybody in here for tribal.
Thanks for checking. I appreciate it.
There's always that aspirational hope.
Yes, indeed. Our numbers, I wish our numbers were bigger, but I was just visiting NACA yesterday. So,
Right. Oh, really?
yeah. Are you gonna I am ready to roll. So good
So
morning.
whenever you're ready.
Thank you so much. It really is a pleasure to be here, to see all of you all and be here in person. Thank goodness. I just want to remind you a little bit about Amy Biehl. 31 years ago, Amy Biehl, a Stanford grad and Fulbright scholar, went to South Africa because of her passion to end apartheid. And tragically, she was murdered by a mob in Guguletu, Cape Town. However, during the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, honoring what they were sure Amy would have wanted, her parents supported amnesty for the 4 men who killed their daughter and subsequently created a foundation in her name, employing and working alongside 2 of her killers. 25 years later, when the founders of our school decided that they needed to create a different space for disadvantaged and disengaged youth, they said, we've got to name it after a really spectacular young person. No more presidents. And so they approached Linda and Peter Biehl and said, may we please name our school after your daughter, because her legacy will meet our mission and we can do our work in her name. And they agreed, saying, but you cannot fail. Amy did not accept failure. And so thankfully they said yes. And we're really grateful for that. And 25 years later, we get to come back to you asking for another 5 years to do the work that we do. You've already heard, next slide, actually 2 more slides. Because I've introduced the folks that are here. You know, our mission is, you know, and I just keep hammering it around, civic-minded, college-bound, and career-ready students that go out into the world and make a difference. And we do that every single day. Next slide. But who are we? Who do we serve? And I am really proud to say that our staff and our students reflect each other. So you can see the numbers on who we serve and who are serving our kids. The other really remarkable thing about our school is that we have a 34% special ed student population, 6 of which are gifted. We're a Title I school, as you can see. 30%, in our last survey, 30% identified as queer and 15 as gender fluid. And in any given year, it could be 40 to even 70% of our students are going to be first-gen college attendees. We have 22 zip codes represented in our little downtown school. And as you can see, we're a top workplace. Next slide, for the last 3 years. But what makes Amy Biehl unique is that we're a safe school where students practice empathy, where they work with one another. They always assume, oh, well, I'd like to say always, but they often assume best intentions. We all work on that. Great news is we are now an early college high school designated school. I don't know why it wasn't before, but I'm so glad we are now, because we can now use processes and institutionalize the dual credit earlier on than we did before. Next slide. One of the things that makes us a safe school is that we focus heavily on the whole child. And part of that is a really robust social emotional learning curriculum that we embed in advisory, but we also do grade level activities that take kids outdoors. We've been really able to benefit from some outdoor grants where we take them rock climbing to push them farther. We take them to the Pueblo Mission. And so we want them to practice team building skills, but we want them to try things that are scary, because going to college might be scary. So we want to prepare them for that. Next slide. I just am really proud of our school in that we were one of the first schools to implement with fidelity the multi-layered system of supports. Again, this is serving kids that haven't been identified as special ed but might be struggling, and we could maybe avoid having to identify them all and send them that way. It worked really well, even though it initially was a little bit rocky, but we were one of the leaders in using that MLSS system. Next slide. I am incredibly proud of the fact that our faculty are 60% dual licensed. So that means 9 out of our 15 teachers are dual licensed in special ed, but we also have 7 EAs to serve our students with special needs. And part of the 7 are Ed Fellows. When we have employed, and we're so grateful to the state for the Ed Fellow program, we have 5 Ed Fellows. One, we graduated last year, so now we have these 5. And one of our Ed Fellows is now our biology teacher, which is really exciting. You can read what Amber has said, Ms. Romero has said about our work. And the one with a picture is because he's already at class. So hopefully that's why he wasn't there. But they are a remarkable group and our kids adore them and they work so well with them. Next slide. One of the other things that makes us a safe school is that we require 100% of our staff to be trained in crisis prevention intervention so we can de-escalate before things get too tricky. It works really well, and we're grateful for that work. And next slide. And you can see Dahlia in that picture. We are also a leader in environmental sustainability. Our lead science teacher, Sandra Mack, came to me years ago saying, we should teach permaculture and we need to put less concrete in downtown Albuquerque. And so she and her permaculture class have been working with Ciudad Soil and Water Conservation. We have Joaquin Baca, who's working with us from the city, and we're all trying to put together a rainwater harvesting project on the south side of our building where we take up concrete and we replace it with a rainwater harvesting and green water system. The other thing, which I know it's crazy to look at, but if you see that little flyer there, our lunch is a zero waste program. That means we have zero food and zero container waste. So we have these things called clucket buckets that our families take home the food waste to their chickens. But we thankfully, Karina, we were able to get a free dishwasher from a school that had to close. And so we schlepped up and got the dishwasher. We got a kitchen renovation grant. And now we have only like washable things, so the trays. We have a student doing his work study with us, washing and making sure our trays are clean. And so I feel like I would love to nominate us for a Green Ribbon Award, but that's for another day. Next slide. Our outcomes do speak for themselves. You've already seen that we're a spotlight school. Next. One of the things I want us to look at are how we're serving our Yazzie kids. Our ELs are making progress according to our data. Next. This is what I think is one of the most remarkable things. Our special ed students outperform the whole population of students in the state of New Mexico. So our special ed students are outperforming not only their peers in the state, and you'll see that in another slide, but the entire state in science. Next slide. In math and in reading. So you can see our kids are making headway and proficiency in enormous strides, more than their counterparts in other places in the state. Next slide. Equally as remarkable is our economically disadvantaged students are also outperforming their peers in the state. You can see the numbers there, and that's in math, reading, and science. Next slide. I know I'm zipping through that, but I'm coming to the part where we know we gotta talk about our Achilles heel, and that's math. I know we're not alone in this, but I'm not going to blame anybody else about it. We do get our kids at 15% proficient, and our goal is to move that needle farther and better. We've been hovering in the 17% proficient for quite a while, and it's just not acceptable for us, as it should not be. And so we've, as a faculty and a really hugely collaborative faculty, we are taking a lot of different initiatives. You heard that we tried some, that didn't work, so we go back again. We're going old school. We are doing something called Mad Math Minutes at the beginning of advisories. So they have a sheet of, I don't know, 60, 100, whatever, how many math problems, multiplication or division, and they have to see how far they get in a minute. And then they're tracking their success. That's just one little part. When we dove into our math scores, we tried to identify where they were really falling down. And so we've been helping not only our math teachers, but we've been implementing math in cross-curricular spaces. I'm going to go to the next slide to show you, and then I'll come back. But I know it's hard to see this, but our New Mexico history teacher developed a lesson on the Trinity bomb and included math problems for them to do to get through that lesson as they were learning about the bomb and they were calculating whatever is going on, like the spread I watched them doing that just yesterday. It was really exciting. So back to the former slide, please. We have math support classes. We're doing SAT prep questions as bell ringers. It's an all hands on deck effort. And I'm a little bit excited. I'm just going to be a little thrilled for the moment. Our class of 2026, as you can see, as 10th graders scored at 14% proficient on the PSAT. But this year as juniors, they scored 20% proficient. So we're going to keep hammering it with them. We'll see how they do in April, and I'll hopefully be able to report to you next year that our math scores are making the way up. I'm by no means under any illusion that it's going to be a rocket ship flying to the sky, but I think incrementally really creating an environment and a culture that says math is actually fun and math is useful and you can do math means that we'll move those scores. As you already heard, we're doing great in reading and science. I hope we keep getting better. We're really strong kids in that. We have great kids in that. Next. I'm going to see the mic for a minute to Cliff Wintrode, which I've already spelled, our treasurer.
Thank you. My name is Cliff Wintrode. I'm the treasurer of the Governing Council and have been for more than 20 years. I have been the treasurer for the Governing Council through now, this is the 5th charter school renewal process. And I'm here today to speak about this slide you're looking at, and another aspect of financial sustainability. The Public Education Department and the state and the legislature have for a while set as a standard for spending, operational spending, that 70% of the SEG revenue that a school receives be spent on 3 functions: direct instruction, instructional support, and student support. And these 3 functions are deemed essential for achieving student success and for the quality of the student experience. In the past 4 years, since the school was last renewed, that slide shows that in each of those 4 years, our percentage of spending on those 3 functions easily exceeded 70%. Not only that, there was a report by the Legislative Finance Committee, as you know, in November of 2023, a Special Education Progress Report. And that report found that over the 6-year period, fiscal year 18 through 23, that on the average each year, schools spend only 80% of the special ed funding they were receiving through the SEG formula. Well, over that same 6-year period, Amy Biehl spent 130% of its SEG special education funding on its special education students. That is, on average, Amy Biehl spent 1.3 times the amount of special education revenue it received every year on servicing and supporting its special education students. So not only is it spending nearly 3 out of every $4 on those essential functions that determine student outcomes, it is spending an abundant portion of those resources on supporting its special education students. And then in addition to that, the school can point to the operating, what this slide doesn't show is the school's cash balance in the operating fund at the beginning of this school year. It's a very healthy balance. It's a balance that did not arise by accident, and it's a balance that exists for a year, for this school year, when many schools and school districts are struggling with the financial consequences of the loss of COVID funding. Amy Biehl prepared for that. 2 years ago, in the fall of 2022, the governing council and the school leadership, in the face of declining student enrollment and the inevitable end of COVID funding, created a fiscal sustainability committee. And that committee was charged by the governing council. It was a committee of the governing council. And that committee was charged with taking a clear-eyed look at the projections for operating revenues and operating expenditures, and then making recommendations to the full governing council about any changes to the cost structure of the school that would be considered necessary to maintain a minimum operating fund cash balance. As a result of that process, there were some difficult decisions made about staffing levels over the last couple of years. So in a sense, the school has paid its dues to be in the financial position that it is in right now. That is, so not only is it spending its money where its purpose is preparing itself to do so for many years to come. Now, the last thing I'll mention is the audit finding that was mentioned at the beginning here. There has never been, to my memory, a material weakness found in any annual audit of the school. The only significant deficiency found in that 4-year period since the last renewal was the one that was mentioned. Audit findings, I've been an auditor and an auditee for most of my career. And people have the notion that audit findings are gotchas, that the purpose of the compliance testing that auditors do is to get you. But that's really not the purpose of the compliance testing that auditors do. The purpose of compliance testing is to determine weaknesses and work with the school to resolve those weaknesses. The goal is for the school to improve their processes. And every time Amy Biehl has gotten a finding like this, it is never a repeat finding. They learn, they want to learn, they want to do better, and they do. And so I can say so I'll conclude by saying I'm still the treasurer of the governing council after all these years, because never, not once in my 20-some years as a treasurer has the leadership of Amy Biehl ever given me any doubt that they're committed to financial integrity and the belief that a strong financial foundation promotes healthy and good student outcomes. Thank you.
Next slide. Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Aldis Philibar. I'm the community school coordinator at Amy Biehl High School. I'm just going to touch on our foundation really quickly. So the Amy Biehl High School Foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit with the mission of supporting Amy Biehl High School. So our foundation was founded in 2001 when our founder decided to move from a small auxiliary building to the former the historical building on 4th and Gold, which is a former courthouse and post office. So the foundation was founded to raise the $4 million that was needed to convert that space into a school. Since then, the foundation has helped sustain Amy Biehl High School through the loss of the small school size adjustment and the end of ESSER funds. And the foundation really supports programs that are mission focused. So we have a financial aid program for our students who qualify for free or reduced lunch for college related expenses. So like getting their SAT paid for, or college application fees, anything that we're trying to remove barriers to college, especially those financial barriers, after school programs, service learning, field trips, among other things. So thank you. Next slide.
So I'm going to wrap it up here because I have a little video to show you. But I just want to remind you that we meet our mission every day. Scholarship and service, whether we're working hard in the early college, high school, whether we are going out on service trips, service missions in this throughout the city. I tell my students we take a little piece of Amy Biehl in our hearts, not just wearing the t-shirt. Next slide. And I just want to also remind you that we have 25 years of great outcomes and really terrific successes. There's a few of them right there. But I want our alums to tell the story better than we have. So I'm going to let them, I have you guys watch a video that we made when I got to speak to some of our former students.
Hi, my name is Cesar Miranda. I graduated in the year of 2012.
My name is Adriano Bejarano Chavez. I graduated Amy Biehl 2022.
My name is Ava Montoya. I graduated from Amy Biehl in 2014.
Hi, my name is Ciara Biehl. I graduated in 2023.
My name is Emeshe Boroshnag. I'm a senior at American University, graduating in May 2025.
My name is Marissa Perez. I graduated in 2014.
Zia Martinez. I graduated in 2018. Immediately after high school, I started getting my associates in applied sciences for welding.
I'm majoring in international studies with a focus in national security and foreign policy.
I'm a sophomore health medicine and human value major at UNM, and I'm minoring in Spanish and chemistry.
I got a master's and 3 bachelor's degrees. My first bachelor's was in communication and psychology, Spanish and linguistics, and business administration.
And I'm currently at New York University studying English and pre-law.
And right after graduating from Amy Biehl, I went to Arizona State University, to the Walter Cronkite School of Journalism, which I had never heard of until my college counselor at Amy Biehl told me about it.
I've completed my bachelor's at the University of New Mexico with chemical engineering. And I've continued on towards my grad school here at Rice University in bioengineering.
The main ones I did take were English, like the English 101, 102 classes. Public speaking was, that one, because that was my first one. That was my first one. I think I took about like 24 credits.
I took public speaking and sociology.
I took dual credit my full senior year. I know I took a math course. I don't remember if it was pre-calculus or trigonometry or one of like those courses that I can use for my engineering degree that I didn't even know I was going to have at the moment.
I think I was actually the first person at Amy Biehl to graduate with my associate's degree while in high school. So I got my associates from CNM in May 2021 in political studies. I think just being in a college environment, regardless of what I was studying, definitely had the biggest impact in terms of preparing me for university.
At Vitalent as a job, but then your senior project was where?
At Presbyterian Hospital in the emergency department.
Okay.
So that was like, I'd say that was my second big thing. I think my job was probably my biggest thing, but I think being able to like balance school and work was just like something I had to manage to do, and that was like something that helped. And I think at Amy Biehl, everyone's like really understanding. Even obviously you still have to do your work, but I think there's more of a community that like allows you to like work and just do a lot of different things.
So my senior project, I was working with, I guess it would be Cornelio Candelaria Organics and then Van Buren Middle School, helping with their Farm to School program, which was like, it was the second year it ever started. So it was really getting like the garden up to snuff, planting a lot of things, developing programming, and then just working with students. So through that, I was really able to kind of, I guess I was already in it because of an internship that I attended like 4 years prior, for 3 years, I think it was 3 years. And then was working on the farm to learn how to drive a tractor, learned a lot more about community and culture, but then it was really working at the middle school that kind of transformed my understanding of how agriculture is important. We worked with in-school suspension kiddos and did a lot of more restorative justice circles. And we would go work outside and then bring it in and make food and really have like deep conversations about how they can kind of learn how to have better relations with each other, and then we use the garden as examples.
I did a project with Other Paths, which was a nonprofit organization where it was like a group of 5 students or 6, and we all fundraised for a whole year and get these funds to buy clean packages of water and vaccinations and funding for like material to build a health clinic in the village of Kimakimwe, and this was in the country of Kenya. To do a senior project like that, I believe I was at the age of 17 or 18 years old, and to go to another country, it seemed like I went to another world. That trip, Steph, changed my life forever. We were able to take, we were able to build a clinic physically, and then vaccinate. I think our results were like 250 kids that year.
I have a lot of awesome memories from Amy Biehl. I loved, I think they were electives at the time. I know I took your advanced Spanish class, which was really like Spanish film studies, which was so cool and so fun. And I'm not just saying that because we're talking, but it's like it exposed me to a whole world of film that like I still am interested in to this day. And so that was cool. And then I took a film studies class, and I know we watched a lot of Japanese film. So I really loved about Amy Biehl that the teachers brought their own lives into it and kind of, their own interests. So it seemed like a cool opportunity for them to expose younger people to this whole world.
The Olympic Games that we did.
Oh yeah, the Urban Olympics.
Urban Olympics.
Oh my gosh, that was so
It
fun.
was very much like team building with your year, but then with like everybody, the community too, because it was not just Amy Biehl who was competing, it was all these other people. So it was really cool to be able to experience that and like see adults still being a child, which is something that I like take into currently. So I do a lot of outreach right now, and so I'm trying to remember that and be like, we can still be kids, and it's actually really encouraging for people, especially students, to see us enjoying these things. So I do outreach with MD Anderson with the Children's Cancer Facility, where we do like STEM things, wanting to still show that like, science is hard, but you can always have fun with it.
Social Action Carnival was like the one big memory I have. Because I remember it was a fun time to like actually focus in on like one specific topic for like, a month, or I forget how, like it was like a few months, I think, that we had to like put it together.
Well, they introduced me to the farm I started at, so that's one thing. And then put me in a lot of like, gave me so many opportunities to learn how to be a leader. And it's a lot of support. I was working a lot of jobs while I was in high school, and were able to give me a lot of support around resources to make sure that I could still succeed while also, living a much harder life than some of my peers.
Mm-hmm.
In addition to that, like being able to think critically, I was always loved learning, and Amy Biehl was a space that I was able to, exceed in that and keep that passion of learning, and I didn't lose it while I was there. And just thinking critically about social movements and situations and giving those introductions and the opportunities to learn research and media literacy was huge. I never went to like the bigger colleges. That wasn't for me. I went into a trade, but I use a lot of those skills now.
Because of Kenya and because of Amy Biehl, in my senior project, I backpacked all South America. I went all over Europe. Imagine how much of an impact my senior project did to me and to the lives of others. I mean, till this day, I'm still giving back to my community, and I already graduated in Biehl.
So I think mock trial was definitely the best terms for me at Amy Biehl. Public speaking and the argumentative skills that I learned through mock trial, and also the critical thinking and writing skills that Amy Biehl fosters as a whole. I think that was the most useful going into college. At Amy Biehl, I did both those longer research projects for some of my classes that required a lot of background research. They were pretty lengthy assignments, but we also did, like those shorter, very concise, to the point writing assignments, and those are two skills that you really need in college: how to write a well-researched paper, but also write it in a concise and to the point manner.
The college advisors. I don't think I would be at NYU if it wasn't for those two, because I think I was limiting myself. They made me realize that why are you just going to do this one place, this safe school, when you have options? You can try to do it. And the worst they can say is no. They pushed me to realize, like, you can do more. Besides, like, academics, I think Amy Biehl helped me with my social life too. Coming out was like a big thing I did at Amy Biehl. I always say this, I'm like, at another school, you come out as gay and like, it's like, oh my God, a surprise. But at Amy Biehl, it's like, oh, okay, like, great. Amy Biehl created that like safe environment for me. And like, it's so nice to have teachers not only as like academic advisors, but also like, life advisors.
It was very peaceful, very loving, and we pretty much accepted each other how we were. Right? And I would never have thought of had the friends that I had. Amy Biehl to me was my foundation to my success.
Thank you. So I'm ready for, I think it's time for public comment. I will just, sorry. I'll just move out of the way and I'll let folks come. Dahlia? Or Isabel?
Got to get everything ready. All right. My name is Isabel Taylor, Taylor. I started my high school career at Albuquerque High. I wasn't at Amy Biehl. And for the first 3 years, that's where I was. I spent 1 year in quarantine, 1 year in person, but behind masks. And then the third year was relatively normal. It took me a long time to realize that Albuquerque High wasn't the place for me. The class sizes were too big. Everything, teachers, students, the building itself felt kind of apathetic. And I never felt as though I made any meaningful connections there. After a rough junior year, I was ready to graduate high school behind a screen in online classes. My parents and I compromised and I enrolled at Amy Biehl Charter High School. I was missing credits and was hardly prepared for my senior year, let alone college. So I redid my junior year and nothing could have been better for me. I've since made up my credits and I can finally become a fully fledged senior. Amy Biehl has gifted me belonging and a new sense of understanding. I was given the amazing opportunity to travel to Cuba, where I met wonderful friends and experienced a world entirely different from what I know. I have Amy Biehl to thank for broadening the scope of my horizons and preparing me so excellently for the next step. I kindly implore you to renew my school's charter so it can help others like it helped me. I'm going to turn it off.
Good morning, everyone. Madam Chair, Commissioners, and CSD partners. My name is Dalia Corral, Corral, and I am very grateful to have the opportunity to talk about Amy Biehl. I can honestly say that this school has changed not only my life, but my family's life. I am on the way of becoming a third-generation graduate from Amy Biehl. And in preparation for this, I asked my mother why year after year she continued to pick this school, and her response was simple. She said that she felt the school gave students opportunity to be who they really wanted to be, and the teachers helped students excel. And as much as I hate to admit it, she is right. When I first came into Amy Biehl, I was really scared that I was going to be known as my sister's younger sister and I was going to live in their shadow. But thankfully, Steph and everyone else gave me the opportunity to be me and grow into the person I am today. And for that, I will always be thankful. I know they won't admit it, but I'm the best out of the three. And for that, I will always be thankful. I had the opportunity to meet incredible people like Isabel and Carlos and everyone else at the school. And I really hope that you guys continue to let this legacy remain. There's one more in my family, so I'm just asking for one more. But thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chairperson and Commission. My name is Molly Biehl, B-I-E-H-L. I am here to speak on behalf of my sister and my mom, who may speak after me, I'm not sure. And then my brother, who is not here today, who's in Atlanta. And first, I would like to mention that I recently moved back to New Mexico. I'm a product of New Mexico schools until halfway through high school when we moved to California. I work for Global Santa Fe, which is formerly the Council on International Relations, and I have had the distinct honor of working with these two fabulous women here, and by default, Carlos. They participated in our youth leadership diplomacy program. And what that entailed was, beyond their regular school obligations, to convene with us on virtual modules that taught them the skills of diplomacy. Diplomacy, a lot of those skills, which we adopted from the National Museum on American Diplomacy, are character building skills such as awareness, listening, composure. And I think you can see that they have all these qualities. After they participated in the modules, they then had the opportunity for international exchange, which, as Amy's sister, is highly meaningful. And they traveled to Cuba with Stuart and Peggy Ashman, who are local people, where they learned about lives in other countries. And I think it was Isabel that said she will remember her life as before Cuba, during Cuba, and after Cuba. So I would just like to offer my full support for extension of the charter for this school. I am committed as a Biehl family member to supporting them in any way I can, and I will even do math if I have to. Because, as Stephanie said, failure's not an option here. And as a mother of three young people, I would just like to say that we're preparing our children for jobs that don't yet exist, right? We do not know the future in terms of employment opportunities, et cetera. Every time I've ever stepped foot on Amy Biehl High School, I have seen people look me in the eye. They are faces, they are people. I've been on many, many campuses. I've been involved in education at every level. You do not find that places. These people are nurtured in such a way that they are human beings. And that is a very large tribute to my sister, who believed in giving everyone a full opportunity to a successful education and a meaningful life. And so I fully support the renewal of this charter, and I thank you very much for your time and your consideration. Thank you.
That might be all. I think that's all who signed up.
There's nobody online, and that was everybody I had signed up.
Super. I will say that we have our Dean, Hallie Wheelis, Wheeless, and our business, our finance director, Mary Hageman, Hagemann, available for any questions. So they're on Zoom if you need to ask any questions of them specifically.
Commissioner Beck.
Thank you. What a wonderful school. It's awesome. Great job. The kids, we always love hearing from the kids. Congratulations on your spotlight.
Thank you.
That's excellent. It's a quandary for sure. This math is a quandary. I mean, everything else is just, you know, pure gold. And then that, and I'm not even gonna ask you, I don't think I'm gonna even ask you any questions on it, because it appears you really are laser focused on trying to improve it.
Yes.
So, you know, I don't even know, you know, I was a teacher for 13 years. And the end of my career started at 52 as a teacher. So I know you're working on it. I know you're trying to do everything with it. I guess my question is, because you're 9 through 12, and it's kind of a weird thing with the PED that 9th through 12th, your VISTA score is dependent on one test for 11th graders. I mean, it's bizarre to me, you know, that you get one grade, you know, and it could be great grade. When I taught at Sandia High, you know, and we'd go, oh God, oh gosh, the 9th grade guy's coming in. Oh boy, this is going to be a problem. Or, wow, this 9th grade class is awesome, right? And so you go from an awesome class to a terrible class, and your VISTA scores, you know, or your scores in those days, it wasn't VISTA, it's tanked. So my question is, you're 9th through 12th, have you looked at the growth rate? Do you get kids in that are really super deficient in math?
Absolutely.
And just talk real quick about how you assess their growth in math from when you pick them up in 9th, because you could probably get them from all over the place, I would assume. You said 22 different zip
Yes,
codes,
sir.
yeah.
Yes.
I mean, is that a function of the problem there? And the other thing that, if you wouldn't mind talking about real quick, is usually there's a correlation between science and math.
Right?
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
And-
in math, it's all about the calculations, I think. And on some level, we do have an incoming 9th grade class that on average shows up at about 15% proficient from their 8th grade. So, and the variations on where they are grade level is dramatic. It could be second all the way to 12, right? So, and
Right.
as you know, we're a fully included school, so we need to teach everybody in that classroom and paying attention to everybody's strengths and challenges.
Right.
I will say that, you know, we do use the Renaissance STAR testing as a short cycle assessment. And there are, you know, again, in any test, the day, it could be a snapshot of what they're
Yeah,
doing, right?
sure.
So, but we're testing them more and more and trying to gauge growth. And as I showed you in the PSAT, the class of 2026 is demonstrating some growth. It's an all hands on deck. I think we might shift up some teaching assignments and see if we can move some people doing other things. We really support our teachers in their autonomy, yet trying to stick with.
Yeah, I read, Vice Chair Carrillo always chides me that all I ask about is professional development.
Well,
No,
We-
why didn't you ask?
oh, I'm
So
happy.
I look at your professional development and, you know, I mean, you know, you have personal professional development, collaborative professional development, content teams. I got,
Between
I mean,
20 and
that's why I
25
said I'm not going to
days.
ask you a question about it, because obviously you do it.
Right.
You know, I get it.
Yeah, you know, we're
It's just
still.
bizarre.
Well, it is a conundrum for
Yeah.
us. And we, you know, I will say that I've been at Amy Biehl for 16 years and math has never really been something we've been great at. And so we're still trying to crack that code.
Yeah,
And
and let me tell you, I mean, I've been doing this thing for 2 years, and everybody's math is significantly weaker than
Thanks for
their
making me feel
English.
so
Yeah, you're not alone in that. You're kind of alone in the you know.
stuff over here.
Right. Yeah,
Well, in
so,
science, it's about more of the reasoning, and because their critical thinking skills are so on, you know, like above average for
Right.
sure, I think that helps them gauge and answer those questions better.
Right.
I mean, I will say I have some colleagues from other schools that are like, what? How do you do that?
Yeah.
I'm like, well, I think we have excellent teachers, and I'm not saying that our math teachers are not excellent.
Right.
We're just, again, trying to crack the code and find the right way.
yeah, I mean, you know, I don't know, maybe you reach out, so you look for charters that have great math and you reach out to them and say, what are you doing? You know, or something like, I don't know. It's a conundrum, but I know you're on it.
Thank you.
I know you're on it. So that's all I have.
Commissioner Burt,
Mhm.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So first off, I'm very happy to support the school for 5 years, no conditions. I mean, it's super easy.
Thank you.
No, I mean, what an incredible model, incredible execution of the model. And I want to say a massive kudos to the governing board and the intentionality of your spending. I wish I could get 60 of you and just put one of you in every single one of our governing boards. So just throwing it out there, during any conference, charter school conference, it would be great for you to teach a session for other governing board members on how you do that financing and how you're prioritizing dollars in the classroom and aligning it to your mission, because that's actually how it's supposed to happen. And I think a lot of governing board folks do their best, but they don't have that vision and don't understand how the finances really impact the function of serving kids in a school. So just to see that level of money going into the classroom is astounding for a charter school. I mean, it really is. It's very difficult for charter schools to get that level up there. And so I love that you're doing it, because now I get to tell everyone else, well, Amy Biehl's doing it. So, figure it out, why is yours at 50%? Why? So thank you for that. Thank you. Appreciate your time and all the volunteer hours you've put to doing that kind of level of execution of the budget in this school, because it really does. I mean, it works like this, and I don't think many people understand it in the way that you are able to not only understand it, articulate it, but execute it. So thank you. It's incredible. Okay, the only question I have is about your early college high school program. When I looked, I think I have that idea in my head of what that is kind of a definition of, and I'm maybe a little too narrowed. And so I'm wondering what degrees, certificates are available to your students? Like, what does that look like? The promise of an early college high school, and how does that execute it in the school?
So an early college high school gives underclassmen the opportunity to take dual credit a little bit earlier. The requirement, and we opted for something called an academy model, because we know that not all of our students are going to be seeking that option. And although we do require 2 dual credit classes for graduation, in the academy model, we have students who are more interested in getting some more credits earlier. And so the requirement is 4 classes. Although we have 35 kids enrolled already in the academy, we're offering 3 classes on campus. And we have 2 sort of routes. One is in film, because we have a really great partnership with CNM and UNM, the film department. We have a professor on campus who teaches 2 different film classes that then can feed them into a film program. As you know, Albuquerque is exploding with opportunities. And so we're leveraging our connections and community partnerships in film so that those kids can then have that opportunity. But if, say, for example, they even take film and they're like, maybe not. We have something called an integrated studies pathway, and we can just put them on the pathway that way. Emma Shea was our only one to graduate. And you can imagine, it was an intense process for her to get her associates and an Amy Biehl diploma. And we have some kids that are sort of aiming for that at that point, but we'd like to make sure that they're successful. So we're not trying to push them right away. We want to make sure that they have the habits and the maturity to be able to be successful. Does that answer your question?
It does. I think when I think of an early college high school, I see it as students earning a degree or certificate by the end of it.
That's only certain high schools. I was just yesterday at a early college high school conference at the College and Career High School at CNM. And that's a real intentional program for all of their students that puts them on that pathway where they do high school in the morning and college on that campus in the afternoon. So we have a very different model and offering kind of a broader variety of options for our students depending on their capacity.
Yeah. So, okay.
Yeah. So that's why the early college high school has that thing called the academy model, which means that certain kids can enroll and participate that way, but it's not a requirement.
Yeah. And it sounds like it's not. The school is more heavily focused on the credits from the high school And if
Absolutely.
you can do some you have to do at least two.
Have to
Everyone
do at
has to
least
do
two.
two.
Indeed,
But
yeah.
if you enroll in kind of the early college model, you're going to do 4.
At a minimum, that's when they get their court at
But
graduation.
it'd probably be hard to do any more than that because they still have to take all the high school. There's no swapping out.
It just depends on the kid. And because we and really work with each kid where, what they want, where they need to go and what they want to do. It could be, I mean, you saw Ciara on there. She got into the BAMD program, which is incredibly competitive. And by the time she started, she had already completed 10 classes toward her degree. So that supported that effort.
Yeah, I just want to, I think it's great. You know, I always, I think oftentimes families and students have to make a choice between programming and academics. You know, that if you want to go into this community service minded, that, well, maybe the academics aren't as great. And so, but we value this. So we're going to pick this and we'll let this part suffer. Or we really value academics. So, you know, maybe they don't have programming, maybe they don't emphasize these other values we have. We'll let that part suffer in order to get the good academics, right? And so I love when there's schools that provide, you don't have to pick. You don't have to decide, you know, like which one do you want to prioritize? Like both are prioritized at a high level. And I just appreciate that a lot.
You'd be surprised at how well one serves the other. And
Right,
so these
right.
kids are definitely proof that their work in the community and in the workforce feeds and supports their academic success.
And I love that. I love that, you know, it's that false dichotomy that I feel like people get themselves into, that it's or, and it's not, it's and. You can do and so I love being able to use great schools, especially charter schools, as examples of you can do and. You can, you know, like a whole child education is academic and social emotional, you know, it's all of it. So it's wonderful. Thank you. For coming up, for the students coming up, for your alumni, for taking the time to give us some more information is always helpful. And looking forward to your next 5 years and continuing to serve not just your students, but the community at large. And that's really special and beautiful.
Exactly. Thank you.
Commissioner Brower.
Thank you, Chair. Ms. Becker, it's great to see you. Thank you, everyone, for coming today, the Biehl family as well. Thank you, students. It's always great to see the clarity and confidence from you when you come up here. I still get nervous when I'm up here, and I've been on all sides of this room, on your side, Ms. Becker, and in Karina's side, and here, and I still get the sweats. And when I see students come up and just show such confidence and self-awareness, I just think it's like a beautiful thing. And I know that comes from within, and it also was nurtured at Amy Biehl High School. So thank you very much for that. Same with your alumni. And it's always great to hear young people say that they're learning how to write. I think that is like the one thing in our state and nationally, like that is something that I feel like it's an epidemic that we don't talk about. I'm not in the academic world all that much, especially at university level, but I know it just seems that that's something that is undiagnosed as an area of concern, so that we have young people who can persuade both by oral abilities, but also by writing. And also just find joy in that. And so it was awesome to hear that from your young alumni about how you all supported them. I have a couple other things I wanted to share, but I just have 2 main questions. And the first one, I've been looking at the reading across the reading scores across the charter term, and I don't. And forgive me if this is very obvious, so I apologize, commissioners, and to you, Ms. Becker. I've just done a little bit of like review of your scores from 2021, 22 to 22, 23. It decreased by 24 percentage points.
Yeah, that was frightening.
And then like I've looked at other schools that are kind of like early childhood schools, 9th through 12th grade schools, and there actually was an increase in a couple of them. And so I also want to share, just like Commissioner Burt, I mean, I'm in the bag. I'm going to support you unless there's a meteor that hits us. It's happening. But it did catch my eye that there's almost a quarter, like 25% almost, of a decrease. And then it goes up. It went up. It went up to 71%, I believe, in the most recent vistas from 23, 24. I just wanted to hear a little bit about like what happened. I know you spoke a little bit about that in your part B, but I just wanted to, since it's such a glaring change.
We were shocked.
And it's still above, I just want to share, it's above but you all have a different level for your students, I
Mhm.
think,
Right.
than just hitting, New Mexico averages or APS averages. So
And I don't want to fall on old tropes, but I will tell you that that particular representation was our COVID class. I call it. They started with us in COVID, and it was always just a catch up. And it also was a pretty small sample size. And I'm constantly trying to pay attention to the sample size. That's why some of our data is masked, because we have a very tiny sample size. And I will say that I fought like a devil and the squeakiest wheel when we initially got some Vista scores, and they represented something that looked pretty frightening based on a sample size of 3. And so I can't make excuses for the fact that they went down in that particular way. I'm hoping they're served better through their senior year and off now they're into college. But I would imagine and just say that was a fluke, really, because I think we are pretty steady at reading. So that's my best explanation for you on that one.
thank you. I appreciate that. And I know it's been a minute since I've been in classrooms at your school, but I know the level of rigor, and that's where this question is
Yeah,
coming
I
from.
hear you.
The other question I have that I just wanted to, it's, again, it's not, the world is not falling apart, but I'm just a little bit, I guess, surprised by the graduation, 4th, 5th, and 6th year graduation, that it's just slightly under the average. And I was
Right.
just curious about what have you all learned from that? Because I would have assumed that it would have been a lot like above average, like reaching for the stars, knowing what
For
you all
sure.
do
Yeah.
with my own eyes, seeing this from your students. And I just wanted to see what's going on there, and what are you paying attention?
I'm really glad you asked that question because, at time, there's a number and we want to reach that number and we have that goal. But the reality is that we have some students that just aren't ready to graduate in 4 years, and we want to serve that student in a way. So we sort of, not that we keep the student as the priority. And I say to everybody, every single decision we make is the lens. The lens has to be, how are we serving our student or students, right? But in that case, and again, because of sample size, we have some kids that just really needed 1 more year at our school before they left, and some maybe 2. And so that's a reason we'd rather keep them and prepare them than rush and get them out so we can achieve a particular number. So as much as I don't want to take the hit for that, I see an individual, or I see this individual. So I want to make sure he or she is served better than, sadly, our graduation rate. So, yeah.
Now, thank you for that. I appreciate it. Now I'm going to gush for just a few minutes, if that's okay, Chair. So I think my first experience with the school, I think it was 2006 or 5. Tony was still the lead, and I was a director with Teach for America in the McKinley County area, and we brought teachers as part of their professional development to the school. And I just remember how beautiful that whole day was for our teachers, for myself, to see the level of rigor, just the student leadership, I can't remember what it's called, and I'm so sorry, like the interdisciplinary study that each student has to do in service to a community. What's that project
The
called?
senior project is
Okay.
what they do, and it's funded and supported institutionally. They have to do a class in 11th grade called Compass, where they really explore their passions and talents. And this follows a class. They took civics before that, and then they follow that in their junior year, and they decide where they, what is the social justice issue they want to address? Where would they like to work? Before I became the ED, I was the director of community engagement, so I was intimately involved in this process. And one of the things that's really important is that, and we began this over 10 years ago, thinking about, well, if you have an interest in a career in this way, you could serve, just as Ciara did, the emergency department, and you could go there and work and serve and get exposed to that, and also, give of your time. And so then when they're seniors, they're only on campus for like the first half of the day, because they have to go, it's a minimum of 100 hours. And oftentimes they'll serve 200-300 hours. We have a career readiness rubric that goes with that really supports their progress. And we can not just anecdotally have, like, oh, they're doing a great job. No, we have evidence of their growth in professionalism, in communication. And so we support them in that.
Yeah, excellent. And that's something that really just made me so excited about how that was connected to the overall mission of the school, but how that really related to student preparedness and just doing some very rigorous things around the idea of community and service and social justice as well. So kudos to that. And then I just wanted to share just a few more thoughts. I've had a chance to come to the school after that 2006 moment, and gone to a couple of the different celebrations, including the 25th year celebration last year, or this year, I guess, Miss Biehl, when you spoke. And I just think about every time I hear you all, the Biehls, like speak about Amy and also your work. I'm just so I'm moved to tears, and I'm also moved to action. And to think about that in a world that we are so divided, it seems like so divided, that there are people like you, people like Amy, who can go through the greatest of tragedies and figure out ways to work with others and go through the process of restoration, reconciliation, and for me, a person of faith of forgiveness. And I think that's something that if I had children, I'd want them to come to this school to learn from you all, to have that deep-seated connection to the origin story of this school. And so thank you all for all that you do. Super excited to see where the school goes. And I'm happy that this is this is not my school, but like you're in my district. So
Yes.
it's even more so great to have that. And so thank you very much and congratulations.
Thank you, Commissioner Baum.
Commissioner Carrillo.
Thank you. Thanks for being here, students. Always love hearing from you. I'm going to echo some of what others said. It just makes it real for us, and it reminds us all the time as to why we do the work. And so hearing from you, and also hearing from you with such confidence and eloquence. There's nothing for me personally that I love more when I meet young people and they're confident, they're well-spoken and well-mannered, respectful in their situations. That takes you so far, just little things like that. It was this, Molly, you had even said when you go to other schools, well, at this school, that they look you in the eye when you're walking down the hallway. So that happens because the kids feel a sense of self-confidence in their environment. And that's huge, just in terms of preparing them for life. So a couple things, I'm just writing some notes down. On the math thing, let's do that first. So last renewal period, we had a school, New Mexico School for the Arts. And they were like yours, they were knocking it out of the park in so many different ways, but not math. And it was the same thing actually, middle school in Gallup. And but one of the things that they did is because it made them crazy that they were so good in so many areas and graduating so many kids. So, and I would encourage you to look into this. It was a program that was completely paid for by a grant. And it was through Exeter in New Jersey. And they took all their 3 math teachers, went there. Oh, New Hampshire then. There, Exeter, New Hampshire. And yeah, there you go. And because it's like, why do people struggle in math so much? I loved math and I did really well in it, until I got to college and I was doing other things. But kids sometimes are scared of math because they're not doing well, and so they feel, oh my God, I can never do math. There are all sorts of roadblocks that people have to math that they bring mostly to themselves to the table. But then the thing is, as an instructor, and this program taught the instructors this, how do we break through that? How do we make math more fun, more relevant, and conquer whatever fears there may be around math? And so
their scores, soared after that in math. And I respect them very much in some other schools. When they see something, a problem, they say, okay, we're not satisfied with this by any means. We have to tackle it. And so clearly, if we did a condition, if I did a condition, it would be around math. It'd be wanting to see some, like a report back in 1 year in terms of what you're doing and what progress you've made. Because doing the same types of things, if they're not approaching the problem from a different way, same results, right? And let's face it, and you mentioned this, and I saw Stephanie back there nodding, kids, when they come sometimes to your school, they are so deficient in math. You're just trying to get them to grade level as best you can. And, I understand that as well. But anyway, it was the program. You could even call an MSA and ask them, say, Commissioner Carrillo suggested this. They're really nice over there.
Super.
And so that's on the math side. Curiously, how many students are on your lottery waiting list? I would imagine there's like quite a few.
50, over 50 right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And I love that your students come from all over. On the graduation rate, I was really happy that Commissioner Brower asked that question because I had that down. And I'm satisfied with your answer. So if you were to take those students that then take maybe perhaps 5 years or occasionally the 6th year, if you were to add them together, I mean, then you're really kind of graduating what percentage of your kids? Probably significantly higher than 767 or whatever
In
it
the
was.
80s. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm pretty sure.
I think that's where you want to be.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad you're not just moving them out.
No.
And when they're not quite ready, needs to stay in the oven just a little bit longer. And yes, Commissioner Beck wants to quickly comment on that.
Yeah, I'm really glad you answered the way you did. That was really great because, again, as a 12-year teacher at Sandia High School, I know the pressure there is to, try to get those graduation rates up, and you're doing the right thing. Because the kids aren't going to have to go to remediation, and have to deal with all that and the stress and pressure in college, in their first year of college. You've remedied that. So that was a great answer. I love that, by the way.
Thank you, Commissioner Beck.
Thank you for doing that. You mentioned MSA, yes. And when I wrote a note down here, critical thinking and writing. The writing part, Commissioner Brower, it's amazing when I've in different jobs had the opportunity to read lots of letters of recommendation and do, fill out people that write in applications, they can't write to save their lives. And they've graduated from a New Mexico high school, and it makes me crazy. And because growing up, and I was fortunate to go to schools where that was a focus. And we even made, in Santa Fe Public for a while, writing across the curriculum a focus when Joel Boyd was the superintendent. So no matter what subject you were taking, there's always writing assignments attached to that subject. It's a skill like anything else. And actually, if you read a lot, you learn to write well. And my mom taught me that when I was younger. Not that I read a lot, but yeah. So curiously, where does specifically U.S. history fit into your curriculum?
We teach U.S. history in the 10th grade, and we use a history curriculum. It's called Facing History and Ourselves, where it's more about depth than it is about a lot of breadth. And in 10th grade, they start with a Reconstruction and then move into the Civil War, and then start looking at civil rights movements over the course of the whole year in 10th grade.
Okay, the reason I asked that is because recently, and you might even want to look at this article because it's just fantastic. It's in I feel like I had too much coffee sometime. It's in the Atlantic, and it's really about, and I'm not commenting on whatever happened, a week ago Tuesday, but it's just generally speaking, Americans are kind of clueless as to their own history and world history. And that's happened over generations and decades, that we've made so many other things priorities that slowly history, geography, civics, all these things that Jefferson said are incredibly necessary to have a democratic society, we've basically just left in the parking lot. And it was fascinating how, in the article, and I would encourage you, it's in the Atlantic, and I tried to pull it up and I couldn't get the author's name.
I'll find it, yeah.
The learning, the teaching and the learning of US and other histories teaches us judgment more than anything else. Because everything we're going through now in this country, we've gone through before, a couple of times. But you've got to know that we've been there before and how we got out the other side. Anyway, that's why I asked about US history, because I just think it's so critical. Okay, this dual language, this dual, let me bring this up, credit thing. It says C minus. The mission in the dual credit, that they can take dual credit classes with a C minus or better.
So they cannot pass a class with a D. So when they're taking a dual credit class, to be able to get credit for with us,
Okay.
they have to have a 7.
Requiring C minus, because I know the schools and D's unfortunately passing.
Mhm.
That's why I think when I was on the board up here, there was somebody else on the board that we focused on proficiency, not grad rate, because you can walk a bunch of kids. And that's what they did during COVID. They walked a bunch of kids, dozens and dozens, with D averages and gave them diplomas. That's just abhorrent. Okay, so I just wanted to ask about that. And then I was in the video where lots of the kids spoke. When I say kids, I kind of say that just colloquially. I don't mean you're like kids. I mean, obviously, you're young men and women embarking on your future, right? But everyone, there was a theme about being seen and being supported, and reaching out to kids to broaden how they see themselves and what are the possibilities. So I was really happy to hear that. And yeah, that's kind of the gushing part. I was at one time thinking, like, what if I got off this commission and opened a charter school? And I thought to myself, it would be, the school would be of leadership, public policy, and political science. Called Citizen One was the concept. But I'm not going to do it. It takes so long. Now that I know the process, it's like, oh my God.
Michelle would be happy to help you out with that, because
Just getting through the application process. It would be, because you're doing that.
yeah.
And I was so happy to hear about the way that students are thinking about diplomacy. All of these, and just you're doing it. But I don't know, part of me would still love to have something like that in Santa Fe. Absolutely, going to support. I don't know how I want to work out the math thing relative to condition. We'll see what the others think. Treasurer Wintrode, I agree completely with what Commissioner Brower said, and you can get in touch with Director Chavez about working your way into the next charter conference, because we really, boards you'll see have been a priority for us this last year and a half or so, because where boards start to fail, schools definitely start to fail. You're doing something right, obviously. You're not the only one with all this tenure on the board, right? It would seem like. And how long have you been board president? Oh, I was going to say longer than 5. So that's what makes a school flourish, when boards have continuity. And so anything you can do to get with Director Chavez and other board leaders, so we have some sessions in that next conference on, just learning by example, sharing out what you do that works so others can do it. So thank you so much. That's all for me for now, unless I have a Columbo moment.
So I actually had a good friend who called me and said, Patty, I'm going to open up a charter school. So I said, good for you. So, and he said, and it's going to be civics. But that's all they were going to teach, was civics. And I said, what are you going to do with everything else? We don't want to do anything else. Well, then you go open a private school and do whatever you want to do. And then I sent him the application, and I never heard from him about that again. Because it's like, no, you're not going to do that. So, and I'm going to apologize, because I actually talked about the school Tuesday, because I was at the NACSA conference, and I had a woman who was next to me at breakfast one morning was coming to New Mexico to deliver an award. Because she came last week. It was a community grant.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, how great. And she was so excited because I guess it's a grant you've applied for several times and yeah, got it, but not exactly in the same.
We finally got the money after about 3 times. applying. We were very persistent.
Yeah, and that's what she
It's
said.
the Building Hope, the Impact Grant Award for Community Engagement. Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
So congratulations, because
Thanks.
you know, we've been fortunate because this week has been pretty easy. You know, because we've been able to celebrate the schools. I am that person who does know that math is useful. It'll never be fun. You know, the fun part is never going to come into it. I get that I'm a history teacher. So I'm a humanities person. But I mentioned to commissioners yesterday that I had to go to a meeting on Saturday to basically justify to some folks why charter schools exist. And there was a legislator there, and they were talking about the problems in education and the inequity in education in schools. And one of the legislators said, well, the problem with our scores in New Mexico is poverty. And I was appalled because it's like saying poor kids can't learn, you know, and that's not it. And come to our charter schools and look at the work that charter schools are doing, especially, you know, I appreciate Amy Biehl, not just for the work that you've done and the consistent work that you've done, but you embrace the urban essence of the school. And I think that's what's so cool about Amy Biehl as well, that, you know, you purposeful in where that school is situated and embracing the good, the bad, and the ugly that comes with being in an urban environment. I don't know, do you still do scavenger hunt
Oh, yes.
at the beginning of the year? I always thought that was the greatest thing, that they do a scavenger hunt around the city so the kids learn about the city that they're in.
It's really
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah, you know, and it's that embracing, and that, you know, there are scary things about cities, but we have to, you know, if this is where we're going to be, and we have to make every place where we are a better place. And I think that's what so many of our charters, it may not be expressed in their mission, but their goal is to make those better people, because we have to do whatever we can do to make this world a better place. You know, and that's what is often not celebrated enough about our schools and the good human beings that are coming out of those schools. And it's not just that number in the Vista score, you know, because those are important,
Of course.
you know, and, you know, but the fact that if it's not working for this child now, it doesn't matter how we're going to get dinged by it, we're going to do right by that person. So I appreciate that so much about the school. And this is honestly the first time that I can remember that we had a governance council member that came up and spoke so eloquently about the finances of the school. I haven't had a business manager honestly be able to do it, because they look at it from a different lens. They're just looking at it as the, you know, the black and white on the paper. And they don't often look at it as the servicing piece. But the fact that a governance council is so deeply engaged in the conversation about how we're going to serve our kids. And I appreciate it. And I know many of our schools had to go through that really, really difficult staffing issue when ESSER funds started to go. And it was, you know, it was tragic. It was, because so often it was those pieces of the servicing of the student, especially the SEL pieces, that had to go away with some schools because they needed to keep the academic staffing. So it's tough, but the fact that the governance council is so deeply engaged in the conversation of how we're going to do it, I think that partnership is just unfortunately very unique. you know,
I
so.
feel like I'm the most fortunate of leaders
Yeah.
because of our strong a collaborative approach.
Yeah.
We work really well together. Then I feel so enormously supported by our terrific board.
Yeah, and the fact that your performance framework ratings was almost all green,
Almost.
almost. As we're embracing this, it's like, yeah, but there's that one red. But yeah, I know, but we're good. We're good. So just thank you to everyone. It was just, it's why this is why we do what we do, to be able to hear from the schools and see, how schools are. And the fact that we hear from the alumna is really important because so often, especially I think with traditional schools, the kids leave and they're just gone. And the fact that they care still so much about the school that they'll take the time out to come back and talk about it speaks volumes to, the impression that school will make lifetime on those people. So thank you.
Well, I just want to point out too that two of those folks in that video serve on our board. Cesar is on our governing board, and Ava.
I did see. Yeah, I didn't connect the name.
And Ava Montoya is on our foundation board. So
that's just that's great. Thank you, Commissioner Ingham.
Boy, I hate to be the downer, but I just want to ask something because I'm the facilities guy.
Okay.
Okay, and frankly, your facility is a lovely place and incredible, but scary in that it's very old and their systems are very old. And I just was wondering, does your, are you on a lease purchase on that, or do you, what's your arrangement for your lease on that?
Want me to go? You want to go? You take it. I'll have our foundation development director tell you.
Our foundation owns the building. So 2016, then Congresswoman Lujan Grisham had legislation passed that allowed us to purchase the building from the federal government. And then we entered into a lease purchase agreement with the school. And then we have a terrific building manager who goes above and beyond.
That was my question, is that typically when you have a 100-year-old building, which is probably pretty close to 100 years old, isn't it? Over 100 years old, you have systems issues that are sometimes really problematic. And my concern was that you had made some efforts, because PSFA is impressed on me, any people moving into older facilities, they really want you to be aware of the situation, and that there are some tragic problems that happen, and which leave you just completely in trouble.
Well,
and so I was just asking, have you done like some of your systems, cameraing your sanitary sewer and stuff like that?
Yes. Oh,
Okay.
yes, we have. And our 5-year master plan, our 5-year facilities master plan has a list of the things that we aim to do and the things that we've already completed over the last 3 of the 5 years. So we just keep on top of it, whether it's making sure our HVAC system is up to grade and doing what it needs to do. It's actually automated, so it's energy efficient. Miranda, our building manager, used to work at the convention center, so he has an enormous amount of facilities knowledge.
That gives me a lot of confidence. I so many schools that we have facilities that are really struggling. So
we are careful with our capital budget, and yet we're not afraid to spend what we need to spend to make sure that the building is up to code and in great shape for the next 100 years.
So thank you. I don't feel like it's such a downer now.
Mr. Taylor?
Yeah, I won't rehash the fantasticness of your school because y'all are doing a great job, but I just do want to say that I would not support any kind of condition for math. I mean, the intentionality with the way that you're approaching things, the all hands on deck, all of the things that you're doing to try to do that. Your experience, your competence, I think it's an overreach on our part, I think, to place a condition on you guys for math. So
Thank you, Commissioner Taylor.
Okay, take it back.
Commissioner Brower.
Thank you. Don't worry, Commissioner Creel, I wasn't going to listen to you anyhow. I'm just going to. Commissioners, I move that the Public Education Commission approve the renewal application for the Amy Biehl High School for a 5-year term without conditions.
There's a motion by Commissioner Brower and a second by Commissioner Gibson. Okay. No, I didn't say.
It's not a Columbo moment. It's just I didn't know anything about your school till today.
Oh, yeah, you can't.
And it's,
Sorry.
yeah, I'm not asking them anything. Yeah, because after a motion is made, you can't talk. So don't think of commenting on what I'm saying. No, it's just so, the renewal process allows us to learn about schools we would never, ever learn about, that we only see them on paper. And I'm just thrilled to learn all of this about your school that I didn't know, and that all of you are here. So thank you for the gift you're giving the community and just education in New Mexico in general.
And I want to echo whoever said it. I don't remember who said it. I don't remember who said it. That you said it, I think, that you really care, that your alumni are so invested, in your school. That is really, really, indicative of how much you care for your students. So that was great. Okay. So. Roll. Commissioner Ingham.
Absolutely.
Commissioner Klosser-Sillage. Better do this or else I'll get in trouble. Commissioner Brower.
Yes.
Commissioner Manus.
Yes.
Commissioner Armijo. Commissioner Taylor.
Yes.
Commissioner Burt.
Yes.
Vice Chair Carrillo.
Yes.
Chair Gibson.
Yes.
Secretary Beck. Yes. There are 9 votes for, 0 votes against. The motion passes. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we are in recess until 10:30.